University of California is launching the National Center for Free Speech and Civic Engagement, headquartered here in Washington, D.C. The center's employees will study free speech on college campuses, a controversial topic that has sparked debate at universities and in political spaces. It will be funded by the University of California's Presidential Endowment and from private donations.
Joining us in the studio today to talk more about free speech on campuses, we have Roseanne Robertson, Associate Dean for Student and Academic Affairs here at American University's School of Communication. Professor Robertson, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, thank you.
So, can you talk to us about why you think it's important that researchers study free speech at universities? Why college campuses as opposed to free speech in other arenas?
I think that this country was founded on the principles of free speech, and we have made the assumption that free speech is going along just fine. I think that some of the incidents at college campuses have proved to us that we need to look at what free speech is, and I think that we need to ensure that all voices are heard.
Is there a difference between public and private universities when it comes to the First Amendment?
Probably so. I think that technically there would be, because private universities don't have to meet the same sort of regulations in some cases as public universities do. However, university campuses should be the place where discussions are taking place. And whether you're private or public, whether you're community college or whether you're even online, I think that you need to have the voices heard, because this is the generation of young people who are going to be shaping what we're thinking in the future.
So just a couple weeks ago, a white nationalist spoke at the University of Florida, sparking calls from students to ban him from the campus. Do you think public universities should draw the line? And I know you spoke earlier that public and private universities might have different obligations to the First Amendment, but when it comes to hate speech, should public universities be drawing a line, and if so, where?
Well, I think you'd have to decide whether you're equating hate speech with free speech. Personally, I would rather hear what it is that people are saying rather than keep it underground. I think that I would exercise my First Amendment right not to attend a speech that I didn't agree with. However, I do think that we give people a platform by telling them that they can't speak, and that can be a dangerous thing.
So where do you see the ideas of free speech clashing the most on campuses? Is it in the classroom or with speeches or somewhere else?
I think it's always hard, and in the classroom it's extraordinarily difficult, because you have a classroom of 20 to 30 students and you have a faculty member who has views. Those viewpoints should not be affecting how a student is being graded or what a student is taking away from the class. But I think that it can be very difficult these days in the classroom, trying to ensure that all students feel that they have a voice, and that a voice is not always an argument. So there should be discussions of trying to understand, why are you so opposed to this? Why are you so opposed to this candidate? I find it very difficult to believe that we can't come to some sort of middle ground on many things if we will take some time to listen. Now, that's not listening to hate speech. Again, I would choose not to do that.
So talk to me about trigger warnings, which I know has been a conversation that has come up with in regards to free speech. What are they, and why do you think it's been so controversial?
My understanding of trigger warnings is that when you're going to talk about a topic in class, so say you were taking a photography class and maybe you were going to show some pictures of violence. Some students might have been affected by that kind of violence. So if you don't let them know that this is happening, it could bring up some bad memories. It could be a bad experience rather than a learning experience. I think we've got a lot to learn about trigger warnings, and I think that we need to understand how the students are being affected by things that are being said in the classroom, and how we can, again, make that classroom a safe environment.
Thank you, Professor Robertson, for joining us. Again, she is the Assistant Dean in the School of Communication here at American University, and we so appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you.
A Virginia senator is hoping to lower penalties for marijuana possession in the Old Dominion. Senator Tommy Norman's proposal would force those found with the drug to pay a fine, but would not legalize marijuana outright. Right now, a first-time offender in Virginia could serve up to 30 days in jail and pay a $500 fine. Recreational marijuana is legal in 8 states. Here's a map on where other states stand in the issue. The states in gray have criminal penalties for marijuana, meaning a person found with the drug could serve jail time. Marijuana is legal in the green states.
BMW is recalling about 1 million cars in the U.S. and Canada, citing a risk of fires under the hood. The recall spans 6 years of production and includes numerous models of the vehicles. BMW told ABC News last spring that there are at least 5 million cars on U.S. roads. For a full list, visit bmwusa.com.
A string of robberies have happened in the last 3 days in the D.C. area, police say. 6 happened on November 1st. Police say multiple suspects approached their victims from behind, asked for the victims' cell phones, and assaulted them before fleeing the scene. Police have not identified the suspects and urge anyone with information to call 202-727-9099.
More people are getting involved in crime prevention through neighborhood watch trainings in the Washington, D.C. area. Our District Wire News correspondent Kristen Bravo has more on the story.
Communities in D.C. are looking to decrease crime through neighborhood watch programs. A neighborhood crime watch training was held at St. Stephen's Church in Columbia Heights to educate residents on crime prevention strategies. Samantha Nolan has been leading these trainings for 17 years and is the only person in D.C. certified to do so. She says that D.C. residents play a very important role in helping both their neighbors and the police crack down on crime.
They're vital. Police officers can't be everywhere all the time. Neighbors know the community better than anyone else. They're there, they know where all the hot spots are, where all the problem houses are, and they can direct the police to where their attention should.
The training mainly focused on showing attendees how they can reduce their risk of becoming a crime victim. Simple tasks, such as hiding your electronics while you're on the metro and keeping your doors locked, can reduce the risk of burglary. Some residents feel a personal obligation to prevent crime where they live.
I believe in making a difference in the community where you live. I grew up in Mount Pleasant, and my mother was very involved with local politics. My father taught actually social justice and community planning at AU in the late 60s. So it's just in my blood, and I have to do it.
While still prevalent in the district, robberies and burglaries have decreased in the last year, according to statistics provided by the Metropolitan Police Department. Neighborhood watch trainers hope the work they are doing will help the numbers continue to decrease in the coming year. For District Wire News, I'm Kristen Bravo.
Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is under fire for misleading senators after leaked documents showed ties to the Kremlin. Ross denies disclosing any information and says there is nothing improper about his business links. This comes after Ross did not reveal the full details of his company's holdings. It's also part of a huge leak of financial documents revealing secret investments into offshore accounts from very wealthy people.
All eyes are on Michael Flynn 1 week after the first charges were filed in the Russia investigation. Sources told NBC News that Robert Mueller has enough evidence to indict Flynn for suspected money laundering and perjury. This comes just a week after Mueller filed the first charges against Paul Manafort and Rick Gates. But the White House said that the indictments have nothing to do with Trump.
Saying from day one there's been no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, and nothing in the indictment today changes that at all.
Former Trump campaign manager Manafort and associate Gates were charged with money laundering and conspiracy against the United States. A third campaign official, foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos, pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his contact with the Russians.
Next on District Wire News, parking prices in Chinatown and Penn Quarter are expected to rise. What this means for drivers in the area after the break.
And DC is one of the top cities to live in if you do not have a car. We'll tell you why after the break.